Yesterday I shared a PvP build that primarily focuses on control with stun abilities. Today we have a build that deals a really high amount of damage while still retaining one of the stun skills. With this build you can easily melt opponents in seconds and escape without dying, thanks to the dash skills included. Now I'll start explaining the build with the skills we are using, but before that don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. I still have a bunch of Tempest content to share, so you don't want to miss any of it. Our first skill is Breaker. This one is really good because it gives us a shield and creates a Zephyr. Zephyrs are quite important for Tempest builds because they significantly increase our damage output. With this skill we have a dash with 2 stacks, a shield, and it creates a Zephyr when used. It only takes 1 essence to gain all of these benefits, which is perfect. Next we have Flowing Strike. This is essentially the most crucial Tempest skill for PvP builds because it allows us to stun the enemy and escape from total loss of control and knockback effects. Additionally, after using the skill, it makes us immune to these effects for 1.5 seconds, and this immunity duration can be increased with beneficial effect duration bonuses. Plus, this skill creates a Zephyr as well. Another great thing about this skill is its Eternal Gear affix. If you have it, it provides a good amount of shield. I know getting Eternal Gear with the right affix is pretty hard, but if you get it, make sure to use it. Next we have Crosswinds. This is the skill that gives us high damage output. We use an offhand essence to turn this into a buff, and it works similarly to the Gloomcask legendary gem, providing extra damage. Another main hand essence makes Crosswinds critical hits cause 4 blades of wind to shatter off the target, dealing damage to enemies they hit. Our Zephyrs get this buff as well, so having Zephyrs available is important. Finally we have Squall. This is a great skill to engage with the enemy because the head essence we are using marks enemies for 3 seconds before it ruptures and slices through them, dealing damage equal to 24% of the damage you dealt to them while marked. Ideally you want to mark them before you unleash your primary attacks. Additionally, a main hand essence makes us untargetable and causes us and our Zephyrs to dash forward, damaging enemies in our path. In total we have 6 dash stacks and a buff skill to deal a high amount of damage when we stun our target. Just make sure to activate your Crosswinds skill before you engage since it has a decent duration and won't expire quickly. You can think of this build as similar to the Blood Knight's primary attack build with a comparable playstyle. Of course we have our primary attack too, and we are using Wind Edge with an offhand essence. Thanks to that, Wind Edge becomes empowered when you use a skill, causing your next 2 primary attacks to deal additional damage to nearby enemies. Now, let's talk about the set items. I'm using 4 pieces of Gloom's Guide to get a 15% damage and 22.5% critical hit chance buff after using a dash skill. Since we have 6 stacks, this set is a must-have. For the other 4 pieces, I'm using Vitu's Urge to increase the beneficial effect duration, which is crucial for this build. Additionally, the 30% increased attack speed is important since we are using our primary attacks to deal damage. Now let's take a look at the legendary items, and I want to remind you that I only have Mastery level 3 while recording this, so some numbers and percentages will be higher once I reach Master level 4. For the headpiece, we are using Look Levered. Squall now marks enemies for 3 seconds before it ruptures and slices through them, dealing damage equal to 24% of the damage you dealt to them while marked. For the chest, we have Zephyr Guard. Flowing Strike now conjures a Zephyr that slashes and stuns enemies at a targeted location before you dash forward in a flourish of edge strikes. For the shoulders, we are using Safe Borders. Flowing Strike can now be used while suffering from total loss of control and knockback effects, making you immune to their effects for 1.5 seconds. For the pants, we have Flaring Lighthouse. Breaker now causes you to dash forward, damaging enemies and conjuring a Zephyr in your wake. Additionally, you gain an Absorb Shield. Next, for our main hands, we are using Shriekword. Crosswinds critical hits cause 4 blades of wind to shatter off the target, dealing damage to enemies they hit. This effect cannot occur more often than once every 0.5 seconds. For the second main hand, we have Harmonious Castile. Squall now makes you untargetable and causes you and your Zephyrs to dash forward, damaging enemies in your path. Finally, for our offhands, we have No Second Chances. Wind Edge becomes empowered when you use a skill, causing your next 2 primary attacks to deal additional damage to nearby enemies. For the second offhand, we are using Hurricane Hitch. Crosswinds now empowers your edges with wind, causing you and your Zephyr's primary attacks to unleash wind blades, damaging enemies. That's all you need to know about the legendary items in this build. Now let's talk about some details of the build like Reforge bonuses and cursed properties. For the Reforge bonuses, I'm using 3 pieces of Vengeance to get the bonus family attribute. For the other 2, I'm using increased duration of beneficial effects and increased block chance. You can choose whatever you prefer instead of block chance, that's just my preference. If you have cursed legendary items, try to go for at least 5 pieces of Tortured to get the additional immobilize effect. Tortured is really good for this build since we dash around all the time. From the ancestral properties, you can choose the stun. For the Paragon build, you need to unlock everything you can. Basically, spend all of your points and open up the brawler page. From this page, you need to choose 5 active skills. Let me show you what I'm using. Finishing Touch, Insanity, Defender of Sanctuary, Heavy Armor, and Combat Expertise. I don't feel the need for Rugged on this class, but if you want to use it, you can replace it with Insanity. I think that's all I can say about this build. I hope you enjoy it, thanks for tuning in and take care.